Hello, my name's Anthony Lauder. Now I'm English, but for the past 8 years I've been living in Prague in the Czech Republic. Probably for the first 2 years of those 8 years I was travelling around on business to various different countries. So I hadn't actually settled here, but for about the last 6 years I've seen this place, Prague, as my home. I now have a Czech wife, a very beautiful woman, and this is where I live, pretty much in the centre of Prague. In fact, it's a very warm, beautiful spring day today, so I have the window open just over here, and you may hear the city centre traffic a little bit in the background. After I'd been here for a few months and decided to settle, I started to take some Czech lessons at a language school. Now, I pretty quickly discovered, firstly, that I'm not a natural language learner. I find learning languages very difficult. And secondly, I found that my progress in the classes was excellent in terms of learning vocabulary and studying hard and learning grammar rules. Yet, after a year of classes, I could still hardly actually say anything in real life. So you could ask me the names of various fruits or flowers or parts of the body, and I'd be able to write them all down on a piece of paper or pass some tests. But if I went into a shop and said, I bought this webcam last week and it doesn't work, I'd like a refund or a new webcam please, well, I'd have no hope at all. So I just thought, I need more vocabulary. Just keep studying. So I created lists of words, studied hard, hit all the textbooks, kept on studying, and then another year later, it was the same situation. I knew words about all kinds of things. I knew all the grammar rules, but still I couldn't really string anything together that was useful other than very, very basic phrases. And I knew something had to be wrong, either with me, and I'm sure that I'm to blame partly due to limited abilities, or maybe there was also something to do with the approach I was taking. And what I found quite comforting was that in the language school, and amongst my friends who were studying Czech, I didn't know anybody who could actually have a conversation in Czech, even after 2 years of study, or even 3 years. So I began to think, well, maybe we've all got the same problem. Maybe we're all studying and studying and studying, and we can, as with one of my friends, describe the parts of a hovercraft, the parts of an octopus, and so on, but she couldn't go into a shop in Prague and say, what flavours of ice cream do you have, please? And so she told me that she avoided situations, even though she'd lived here for a few years, where the conversation was anything but very trivial. And this seemed like a great pity to me. What really sparked something in me was a conversation over lunch with another English friend here in Prague, and she said to me, Anthony, the problem is that I can't cope with a sentence with more than 6 words in it. If I have to produce a sentence with more than 5 or 6 words, I get flustered, and if somebody speaks to me in a sentence with more than 5 or 6 words, it just sounds like a long stream of babble that goes in and confuses my brain. And this concept then of being able to string things together rather than have isolated words or tiny little phrases became central to how I went about learning to speak Czech. And this brings me to the word fluency. My channel I'm calling Fluent Czech because the whole point is going to be how to become fluent. Much of what I talk about will be specific to Czech, but I hope there'll be things in there which are general and can apply to many languages. Now, we have to say what fluency is. I'd learned already that knowing all the grammar rules and learning lots and lots of vocabulary didn't bring fluency, because we were stuttering. We were frozen on the spot when we had to speak. So I thought, well, what's going on? How is it that a 2-year-old child who has a much more limited vocabulary and very limited understanding of grammar can actually hold a conversation? And it struck me that what you need is to become fluent with the vocabulary that you already have. So even if you only know a few hundred words in a language, you should be able to hold a conversation within the scope of those few hundred words before you can say anything. So this video series is going to be about ways I've learned to become fluent with the vocabulary that you have already, and as you add vocabulary, your fluency increases. Now, by fluency, since I don't mean massive vocabulary and grammar, at least to start out with, I actually mean flowing conversation, fluid, not fluency, where you can just keep going. If you can string 5 or 6 words together, why not 12? Why not 20? Why not a 10-minute conversation? And the same when somebody's speaking back to you. We don't want a conversation that sounds like an interrogation, where the person says, "Hello, where are you from?" "I am from Oxford." "What are you doing in Prague?" "I work here." It's very unpleasant for everybody. Instead, we want a conversation that isn't a painful interrogation. Instead, for both parties, it all flows, all the bits link together. You say something that triggers the next person to say something, and you can string ideas together. So this easy flow of the conversation, in which all parties are comfortable in keeping the conversation going, rather than everybody hoping the conversation's over as quickly as possible, is what I see as the key to fluency, and it's what I'm going to talk about in the videos on this channel. And as a teaser, I'm going to teach you a very important Czech word, and it's a word that Czechs say all the time, and it'll be a surprising word for you to learn as the first word, but in the next video you'll learn why it's so important. And I'm going to write the word on this little whiteboard that I have. And there is the word, tak. T-A-K, tak. So, what does the word mean? It simply means sew. As in, not sewing with a needle, just as in S-O in English, sew. When you're in a restaurant, you can say, like you would in English, "So, do you have a menu, please?" And it gets the ball rolling with you. Instead of saying, "Can I have a menu, please?" which sounds a bit rough, like an order, if you say, "So, can I have a menu, please?" In Czech, the so, or tak, is sort of breaking the ice a little bit. A gentle introduction that says that you're about to start a conversation. Or, if somebody asks you a question, you could say, tak, so, and then you could start give your answer. In fact, if somebody says to you, "How are you?" in Czech, people don't like to go, "I'm great, fantastic." That's considered both showing off a bit, if you're not too careful with it, and also insincere. It's more normal to say, "Oh, I'm doing okay," or, like we would say in English sometimes, "so-so." And now you should know how to say so-so is the same in Czech. You would say tak, tak. So if somebody says, jak se máte, how are you doing? You could say, jak, how, se máte, yourself, have. How are you doing? Jak se máte. I'll come back to that. You wouldn't say perfect, you would say quite authentically, oh, tak tak, so. We'll leave it there.